All right, so I'm smiling kind of ear to ear because I've tried to do this video a few times, and it's one that I really want to share because it's exactly where I'm at the moment in terms of how to, or a good process to take when starting off in business. For myself, I've cleared my plate, I've cleared my schedule, very much because I've got an idea that I love and I really want to realize it. So to do it justice, I want to concentrate in on it. And I've kind of been talking this over with a few friends, and they gave good feedback in terms of the approach I'm taking. So that's always kind of my gauge for, is it time to share something with yourselves? And in this instance, it absolutely is. So if you've got an idea and you want to get stuck in and started, you want to get that business going, probably the most challenging thing is that no one tells you what you need to do, or no one's there to tell you what to do. And it can be really challenging. You actually have to pick yourself up out of bed. You have to take your own initiative and get stuck into the project. And then when you're stuck in, it's very hard to prioritize certain tasks. And I do a lot of coaching with people one-on-one, and what I found when I'm working with them is that they might be working on stuff that isn't relevant for 6 or 7 or 8 months down the line. And the very fundamental things that they should be doing right away, they're not. The fundamental things at the start are probably a little bit boring, and the things that you will be doing down the line are probably really exciting, hence why that happens. So for me, I think about a business and start scribbling like mad in terms of what's the business overall, what's the mission, what do we want to achieve with this business, what does that look like in terms of starting off, how we start evolve down the line, what will it look like in 3 months, what will it look like in 6 months, what will it look like in 9 months, oh God, I should have got that a bit quicker, what will it look like in a year? And I start to get these very clear phases or stages. So stage 1 of the business is always putting the infrastructure in place, getting the fundamentals right. So getting your company set up, registering your business name, setting up a bank account, getting an accountancy software in place, getting your logo right. All those are really, really simple. It could be also your website if you're web-based or wherever you are. The second is, what does your business look like when you just start? And not how you want it to be a year in, but what is the most basic version of that business as it just starts? And then once you've nailed that just starting off space, what does it look like a bit evolved when you've got a bit of momentum behind you? And so on and so forth till you get what it looks like as it should be and as you really want it to be. And generally speaking, that's like a year down the line or 12 months down the line, or for me, like phase 4 or phase 5. Anyway, it's a bit of a scribbling exercise to get all that out, but you eventually get it out, and then you start going through it and you go, oh, I want to do this in phase 3, so I should do this initial thing in phase 2, and oh, if I'm doing this in phase 2, it will look like this down the line. So you start to think of the business in these stages, and you make sure that whatever you're doing in phase 1 leads you and sets you up for phase 2, for phase 3, for phase 4, and so on. That, as I said, is a bit of a writing out exercise, but it's amazing in terms of just getting everything that's in your head out onto paper and really clearing your thought. You don't take anything for granted. You write the whole thing out, and it's almost like a story. So for me, when I'm writing this out, I'm like, so this is the business as it's going to start. And explaining this in its starting phase, this is what this looks like, this is what that looks like, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to pay our way. And ultimately speaking, once we get through this stage, we're going to come to this subsequent stage. I hope I'm not waffling on. I hope I'm keeping you in here. Anyway, I take that then and I put it into a spreadsheet. And I say, okay, in this period, phase 1, it's going to be from this date to this date. And these are the core objectives. These are the core things that I'm going to achieve in this month. And then beneath that, I'm like, for core objective 1, I need to do this, 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 and this. And I break it into a to-do list. And for core objective 2, I need to do this, 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 and this. And so on and so forth until I finish that tab or that page, and then I go to the next page. Phase 2, my core objective is this, 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 and this. And to do core objective 1, I need to do these tasks. To do core objective 2, I need to do these tasks. Anyway, long story short, where you get to eventually is a spreadsheet or a map with a to-do list for your phase 1, a to-do list then for your phase 2, for your phase 3, and for phase 4. All tied to times. And then you can go back through it and then work it into weeks. Anyway, this is a bit of a drawn out process, but for me, the real value is it takes you from a stage of getting up in the morning and being like, what will I do today? To getting up in the morning and knowing, okay, I need to get through these objectives this day or this week to set me up for the next week, to set me up for the next phase. And it clears the whole thing. It almost takes, for me anyway, it takes a huge weight of pressure off my shoulders, because I don't need to be brainstorming every day of what do I need to do to get this business realized. Abraham Lincoln has this great saying, if you ask me to chop down a tree in 5 hours, I'd spend 4 hours sharpening my axe and then the last hour knocking down the tree. I've completely misquoted that, but for me, a lot of times when people think of a business, they just jump straight into it and they start doing this task and that task and the next one. When in actual fact, one of the most, I think, beneficial things to do is to take a lot of time for planning. And this exercise for me is something that I think it saves a huge amount of time in the long run. It really keeps you focused. And as I said, it takes that brainstorming or that idea generating pressure that comes off your shoulders so that you go into every day and every week knowing what you need to do. Now, there's a lot in that, but I hope you got the bones of it. And if you didn't, if there's any parts that you were perhaps a little bit muddled on or confused, feel free to send me a mail. I'm happy to share a couple of templates that I have in this space. So yeah, don't hesitate to get in touch, but fingers crossed you got the bones of this and it'll bring you great value.